And we're joined now by our reporter Clovis Casali for our segment à la carte. Clovis, you have returned from a place that we rarely go to, Greenland, a semi-autonomous region with still very close ties to its former colonial power, Denmark. More than ever, the spotlight is on the country because one US President, Donald Trump, says he actually wants to get hold of the territory one way or another. Can you tell us how Greenlanders feel about that?
People feel rather uncomfortable by the whole situation. They're not used to being in the spotlight. Greenland, when you're there, you do feel that you're in a remote location. You're going to see pictures and you'll understand very easily and quickly why. Basically, this is a land, the world's largest island in the world. Look, it's covered by 80% of ice. This is the beautiful historic centre of Nuuk, the capital. And then you've also got modern buildings, infrastructures, because the country, the capital, is developing quickly. So people used to peace and quiet, and now they have to cope with all these comments of Donald Trump. It is sparking quite a lot of anxiety and even anger. One man we met who was running in the general election, the legislative elections, because that's why we were reporting there with Ashraf Abid, of course. Also, he was telling us that for decades, Greenland was protected by Denmark, the former colonial power, but also by the United States. The US were the prime ally, and being under the US umbrella meant that Greenland felt safe. And then suddenly, when Donald Trump got into office, well, everything changed. And that's why that man, for instance, decided to run in this election. Ultimately, he lost. He was from the left-wing party, Siumut.
And on election day, you met the man who's now set to be the next Prime Minister of Greenland.
Yes, and Oliver, it was quite interesting covering this election also because it was so different from other elections we've covered in other countries. In Nuuk, the capital, around 20,000 people, there's one polling station in a sports facility. People queuing from a very early time there, and that's the actual outgoing Prime Minister, because all the candidates and the Prime Minister were outside the venue on election day, campaigning, doing last-minute campaigning to try to convince undecided voters. And unlike in France or in the UK or in other places or in the US, you didn't feel any tension between the candidates, even though they were all together outside the venue. They were just campaigning in kind of a positive and festive atmosphere. And that was quite refreshing. What's interesting also is that Donald Trump saying that he wants Greenland by all means, that he's ready to buy this territory because of its natural resources, because of the mineral resources, because of the strategic location in the Arctic. Well, by doing all of that, Trump actually brought the various candidates, the various parties of Greenland closer together. They're uniting. Currently, they're trying to negotiate to form a coalition government. The party that won the election, and there was a big surprise, is the centre-right party, Democratit. And we met the party chairman who's tipped to become the next Prime Minister of Greenland. I can tell you on election day, he did not think he would be winning. I asked him about this moment, this ballot, why it was so important, why everybody was saying that the country was at a crossroads, and what he thinks of independence. And we'll talk about independence a bit later. Here's Jens Frederik Nielsen, tipped to become the next Prime Minister of Greenland.
It's really important, both because of the things inside our country, but also because of the outside, the USA thing and the independence thing, yeah.
And what does your party think of independence, and what do you think about it?
We want to build a strong society, a strong country before we take the step, but it is a vision, it is the goal to be an independent and sovereign state in the future.
So the centre-right party Democratit, seen as pro-business, led by that man, Mr. Nielsen, won the election. Second position for Nalarak, another big surprise, a very pro-independence party that does think that Donald Trump's comments are a good thing, giving leverage to their cause for independence. Nalarak being the party that wants the most independence in the country, and they want it very quickly.
And independence is becoming a key issue. It's got more popular in recent years in Greenland. Is the island closer than ever to fully departing from Denmark's rule?
It's an important point because the question of independence is in all minds and was in all minds during the campaign. All the parties, practically all the parties, or the big ones at least, support independence. But what differs is the timescale. The party that won, the centre-right party, says, you heard the leader say, they want independence, but when the country is ready. And it could take time because you need to make sure that you're strong in terms of defense, in terms of business, because in Greenland, you've got to import everything. So independence in all minds, but we're not talking a few years. It could take 10, 20 years. With Ashraf Abid, when we were in Greenland last week, we met with young Greenlanders to talk about independence, and we also met with other experts and so on to understand how people feel about independence. Take a look at this report. A friendly match for the Greenland women's handball team. They face younger players keen to show they're also worthy of representing the island on the international stage.
It's not everybody who knows what Greenland is or where it is. So I'm very proud when we were at the World Championship in 2023.
What do you think of independence? Do you think Greenland should be independent?
Yeah, I think it should be, but not right now. I think we're not ready yet, but in the future maybe.
Handball is very popular here, just like in Denmark. Ivalu went there for university. It's free of charge for all Greenlanders. The island is a semi-autonomous territory, with defence and foreign affairs remaining under Danish control. Greenland's main political parties all support independence, with differences over when to hold a referendum. The territory, home to some 57,000 inhabitants, is developing with the construction of new infrastructures, but needs extra workforce. Young Greenlanders leave every year, and it's an issue for businesses.
We are going to see a decrease in the population here. We're expecting as low as 40,000 by 2050. We've got the jobs. So it's not because of lack of jobs that young people not coming back. It's due to the lack of proper housing, education for the kids, institutions, and cultural activity.
If Greenland gets even more autonomy or even becomes independent one day, it will need reliable allies for defence, but also for trade and business. 80% of this island in the Arctic is covered by ice, so practically all goods need to be imported.
Thank you very much for that, Clovis. And all those reports can be found on France 24's